Hi there, and let's just finish off the catacombs, shall we? And in terms of dungeons, this is a fairly interesting one. I mean, granted, when it comes to underground tunnels, it's got to be one of the few tropes in gaming which I'm not 100% keen on, because I think if you have an underground level, it can just descend into just having a rocky environment, and it won't be too interesting. But I'll give this game credit. One, I do like the whole lighting scheme. Yeah, with the whole, reds and lanterns you see there. And also, if you can't tell, the whole theme of this dungeon is that it's the skeleton of a dead god. The giant, three-headed serpent. And I look at all these bones and these skeletons you see here, and I do wonder, how big was this serpent? Because it's huge. It's even bigger than a dinosaur. And the thing is, this used to be a god. Like, I'm actually not sure what happened. But do you know the Earth god Vadagar? Apparently, this is its bones. Its bones of its final form. And let's for argument's sake, like the gods in this mythology don't really exist per se. Where did this giant snake come from? Is it this universe's equivalent of a dinosaur? Because if this thing could eat like 100 T-Rexes, it's massive. And to talk about these bone servants here, what I find odd about them is that they have multiple arms and multiple heads. And the thing is, they are meant to be human, or at least they're meant to be formerly human. And of course, humans don't have multiple limbs. And I guess what I find kind of interesting is that maybe some of these skeletons died, so another skeleton sort of picked up their limbs and added it to their own. Like they're made up of multiple skeletons, and the sort of and I do like that idea. It's kind of like a weird idea where these skeletons have been in these catacombs so long that some of them have fallen apart, and others have sort of cannibalized their fellow skeletons to modify themselves. That's kind of an interesting development. And of course, the black fire elemental here doesn't really do much damage, and he doesn't really cast that many fire spells. But then again, he's not really a caster. I'm not sure what he's good for. He's just there. And for a creature that's like 10 feet tall or whatever, he ain't really that strong either. I'll just keep him around as an extra set of hands, I guess. And like I said in a previous part, when you summon a creature, it actually weakens Joseph. It takes away some of his max HP. So really, if I weren't showing these off for an LP, I wouldn't bother with the summons. I would just, let Joseph be stronger. And like I said before, you see him wearing the chainmail tunic. It's very useful, and up until the last part of the game, you're pretty much better off sticking with the chainmail tunics. Oh, and here we pick up a very useful item for Rosalind, the quilted holy robe. Now, obviously being a spellcaster, when it comes to armour, she only ever gets robes. Which does make sense, but unfortunately they don't offer that much protection. Although on the bright side, she really shouldn't be fighting anyway. And something else I should point out is that when you're in Medieval, you can actually buy holy robes from the marketplace. Which I guess I forgot to do, so if you wanted, you could have just bought them before you came here for Rosalind. And yes, another enemy I should talk about is these bone knights, which fire arrows. And really they're the most annoying, because you can see that whenever Joseph gets hit by an arrow, and he's casting a spell, it instantly stops the spell. And when you're trying to heal or cast fireball on these enemies, that can be quite frustrating, I must say. And you can see here I'm saving before every tricky battle, and also trying to divide and conquer. Luckily, the enemy AI in this game isn't too intelligent. So you can see there I was able to take out the 2 bone servants and then to take out this guy separately. Now in the second game they have a stat or an attribute called concentrate. And before I was talking about when you're trying to cast a spell and you get interrupted. Well, if you level up the concentrate stat in the sequel, you know, that increases your chance of continuing to cast a spell whenever you get hit. Well, if you really want a cheap way of casting spells, you know, a little shortcut in the game is that, for example, you cast spell, and when the character goes to do the animation, you bring up the inventory menu. And the thing is, even though the game's paused, they will continue to cast that heal spell. So that's essentially broken. Yeah, again, it does feel like this game was slightly rushed, slightly unfinished. But, you know, I'll keep saying it, I do like this game, and I'm glad it came out, and like I said, there is a sequel, and so it does fix a lot of the issues. I would say it's a shame this didn't become a long-running series, because I would have liked to have seen the lore and the mythology develop further, and also how, you know, where this series could have gone. Now, luckily, one of the good things about this dungeon is that there's very few quest items we have to find, just 2. The Red Shard, which will complete the Shards of the Giamatti quest, and will also give us a quite powerful sword, and the Axe of Ixus. And they're fairly in plain sight. You know, if you're like me, you're probably one of those gamers that whenever you enter a room, especially in an RPG, you sort of check everything once, check for items. I think that the only time I don't do that is in the Sonic game, where if you stop to collect every ring, you'll be there for days. Speaking of which, to go off on a tangent, the point of you know, us, the point of me recording this video, it's been like 2 years since the release of Sonic Generations. Has it been? No, it's been a year, hasn't it? See me. But anyway, the point is, we've had no news about the next main Sonic game. You know, they've released ISO games, like Sonic Jump and Sonic Dash, which, I'll admit, I don't have a phone, so I can't really take advantage of it. Well, I don't have a fancy iPhone or whatever. But my point is, they do look like fun games, but they're little mini games, so I'm not really bothered about them. You know, I also think I am interested by is they're porting Sonic 1 to the phone, and I know that, you know, the classic Sonic games have been re-released like 10 times over, so there's not really much point. A lot of the differences with this version that I've seen on the Sonic Retro website is that it seems to be in full widescreen, and I don't mean they've stretched out the camera, they've actually changed it so it's actual widescreen. You get like a huge view, which, yeah, again, it's an actual feature. When it comes to like re-releasing games in general, especially Sonic games, is that, okay, I like the classic series, I am probably going to keep buying Sonic 1 and 2, or at least make sure I have a copy, but if you are going to re-release it, add a new feature. You know, like this new version of Sonic 1 has a spin dash, which isn't the first time a spin dash has been added to Sonic 1, but anyway, it's just beneficial. But, like, for example, add more features, like for example, if you put Sonic and Knuckles on Sonic 2, you can play Knuckles in Sonic 2. You know, let's have Knuckles in Sonic 1. By the way, to get back to the actual game I'm supposed to be commentating over, yeah, I'll level up a bit of heavy arms here. Summon, I don't really bother with, but yeah, heal. Heal is always worth leveling up. And when it comes to Rosaline, I'd say Fire and Ice are good things to level up, because those moves are very useful. But also, she also learns heal, and of course, you want to get her heal up to 10. And not to mention her magic resist, because there are some pretty powerful bosses that use magic. And you can see I'm kind of like sport for choice. But at least it's not like the situation with Fleece, where I'm a spot for choice, but I also know that I can't level up all of her stats. I have to make some pretty tough decisions when it comes to leveling up Fleece's abilities. Did I say Fleece? Anyway, at this point in the dungeon we see this three-headed snake sort of formation. And we do need to head down all three heads, so yeah, you might as well just pick one and go with it. Now there is well, I don't want to use this term too loosely, but there is a puzzle coming up, when really it's just a set of three switches. Like I said before, there are three heads. You need to go down the left, right and middle one, and activate three orbs. Oh wait, no, tell a lie, you need to go down the left and right one, and activate two orbs. Then head down the middle one to finish off the dungeon. Ugh, and I hate it when I get into like one of those situations you see there, where you're casting arrow, and he's also firing an arrow. And you just hope you can get the fire attack out before his arrow interrupts you and stops you. Because seriously, the archers in this game, the enemy archers at least, they're patrols, really. They just annoy you. And also, I think they're a huge threat. Because being interrupted constantly is much worse than having a heavy physical attacker attacking you. Now this section here can be very tricky because there's a large group of enemies here, and if you're not careful you can find yourself surrounded and easily outnumbered. In fact, I would recommend saving before you enter this room. But to talk about these archers here, I guess what's good is that he attacks my other party members, while I can cast fire arrows. And not to sound too egotistical, but Joseph, yeah, it's important you keep him alive. Just because, yeah, you need someone to cast fireballs. Now, to talk about Rosalind again, yeah, she is good as a spellcaster, but I guess her primary function should be healer. So in that respect, she's fairly easy to manage. Just set her AI to healer/caster, and she'll heal away. Yeah, this is just a good tip about playing this game in general. But when you see a group of enemies, don't run directly at them. Or even if you're in a wide open area, don't go straight into the middle. But I think that just goes for any game in general, you know, like, especially in shooters, don't just run out in the open, try and go from the side and work your way through. But anyway, here's one of the orbs we have to activate in one of the giant heads here. And we also get to pick up the red shard, and this is the last item we need for the Shards of the Giamatti side quest. And we just turn it on. Ooh, fancy. Okay, join me again and we'll be finishing off this dungeon, hopefully.